Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. I hope life is going good. I am so buzzing for this video, honestly. Since the 1st of January 2020, little throwback for you there, when life was normal, I set myself a New Year's resolution to read 12 books this year. Not gonna lie, I didn't start reading until April. So for the first 4 months, I actually completely forgot about the New Year's resolution and I didn't read a single thing. But then in April, I whipped my ass into gear and I started reading loads of books. Now, I have tried not to be too strict on myself in terms of like how many I've read, but due to lockdown and due to having not much else to do, to be honest, I have actually managed to read quite a lot. And in front of me right now I have got, okay, I don't know why I did that with my hair because now my ears are on shoe. Oh god, I'm so weird. Yeah, I've got 6 books in front of me that I have read / am reading, and I wanted to share my reviews, my thoughts. I wanted to give you guys some book recommendations. Why am I holding them so weird? But yeah, I am going to go through the books that I've read so far this year. If you are struggling for stuff to do at home, I honestly cannot recommend reading enough. Like, it has given me a new little lease of life. Like, reading a book just allows you to go into a different world. Sometimes when I've got time to think, I will literally sit there and I will dwell in my own negative thoughts. But if I've got a book there, then I'm dwelling on some character's thoughts, you know? I'm completely distracted from the world outside, and it is honestly like the best thing that I've started doing. I'm just making sure my little boobs aren't on show there. So yeah, really excited to film this video. I'm so excited to share my thoughts and opinions. So yeah, I really hope you do enjoy today's video. If you do, be sure to like it, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and without further ado, don't know why I always do this in like a really big grand voice because it's literally just going to start the video in like half a second, but let's get on with the video. I'm actually going to go in order of which I read. I've got a little notes page in front of me. I tried to write down like a really brief like summary of each book that I read in this little cute notebook which my old school friend got me, and it says nothing is impossible on the front. Just bloody beautiful. So yeah, the first book is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. This is the cover. Beautiful. This is the blurb. Beautiful. If you're a bit of a bookworm or you're just like aware of the book world, you'll have probably heard of The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. It's quite a popular book amongst young females at the minute, and I was excited to read it. I'd heard a lot about it before I picked it up. I actually got it from Asda, in case you care, and it was about £4. So that was a great bargain, wasn't it? So The Flatshare follows 2 main characters, Tiffy and Leon. Leon has got a flat in London and Tiffy needs a new flat in London. Leon basically advertises his flat, Tiffy goes to view it and she moves in. But the twist is, there is only 1 bed. So Leon works in a hospital and he works night shifts, so he's there during the day, and Tiffy works in an office, so she works during the day and is there at night. So they actually never see each other. Like, their shift patterns completely avoid one another, which means they never actually have to see each other, but they do share the same bed even though they're never there at the same time, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the twist and that's kind of the concept of the book. They are kind of different characters. Like, Tiffy is, I would say, more extroverted and has got a louder extroverted character about her, whereas Leon is more introverted and he is a little bit more how do I put it, subtle, I would say. He's a little bit more kind of calm and just like that typical guy who's like really hot but kind of calm. It follows the 2 characters and their individual lives, so they've both got stuff going on. So Tiffy has got this weird ex-boyfriend who's a bit obsessive and a bit of a creep, to be honest, and Leon has got a brother who is in prison for a crime that he pleads innocent for. So he says he's not done the crime but he's in prison for it. So there is kind of complications between them both, and it follows each of their stories and then how they kind of come together. I obviously don't want to give you guys any spoilers as to what actually happens in the book, but that's pretty much the premise of it. It's based in London. It's kind of written in a modern way, if that makes sense. Like, you can definitely tell it's written for present day. It's been written recently and it's about now, if that makes sense. Like, there's no kind of oldie worldy themes in there. Like, it's all very modern, which is good and relatable, don't get me wrong. I think it's a really light-hearted, kind of like a rom-com kind of book. I could see it being made into a film or some kind of TV program. I wouldn't really say I took anything from the book. Like, I don't think I learned anything new from the book, but to be honest, with most like rom-coms and stuff, you don't really tend to learn much, do you, about yourself? Like, you don't really leave rom-coms feeling indifferent about the world or having learnt anything major. So yeah, it's a classic rom-com kind of book. It was good, but I think I was just expecting more from the storyline and more from the characters maybe. I don't know, I didn't feel like I related to the characters that much or kind of cared about them. Like sometimes when you can't relate to a character, you can still sympathise with them, understand them and want the best for them. But I kind of didn't really feel that, to be honest, and I didn't actually find it to be much of a page turner. I don't want to plug my own book club too much, but if you didn't already know, just because I've said it, you know, I may as well mention it. I've started my own book club, so there is a group of us. There's actually quite a lot of us now. There's like over 100 of us who all get together each month and read the same book. This was actually before the book club started, so I've not actually read this with you guys, but yeah, I've got a book club. It's called Page Turners. I'll leave a link and how you can join down in the description box. That might not be the last time I'm going to mention it in this video, because I'm not going to lie, it's a book video and I've got my own book club, so it'd be a little bit silly not to mention it. It's called Page Turners as well. Do you get it? Because my name's Leah Turner. Page Turners. Leah Turner. Turner the page. Turn the page. Do we get it? Yeah? Alright, so yours. Thought it was good. Wasn't amazing. It didn't blow me away. I won't give like proper ratings and everything of each book, but it's a good book to pick up if you're wanting something that you don't really have to think about or concentrate on. It's alright. Yeah, it was like medium. Mid in the road. What's that saying? In the middle of the road. On a rocky road. Okay, I don't know what I'm saying now. But yeah, that's the first one. The Flatshare. Gonna have to have a little sip of water now because I'm doing an awful lot of talking in this video. Next up we have Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This was the first book of the book club, which was so exciting. I am so glad I picked this for the first book. Like honestly, it was a really good, strong choice from me, even if I do say so myself. So Everything I Know About Love is actually, oh, is that a bookmark that's just fallen out of the book? I mean, oh, look at that bookmark. It's like a little drawing. I obviously coloured that in when I was bored one time. I didn't even use that bookmark when I was reading this book, so I don't know where that's come from. But Everything I Know About Love is actually about Dolly, so the author. Although it's like an autobiography, it's not actually written like one. I actually didn't realise that it was about her until I got to this one little section where it said Dolly, and I kind of just put two and two together. But it's honestly written like a proper novel, even though it's an autobiography, which is so cool. The only way I can describe this and do it justice is that it's like a life story. It follows Dolly from when she's in her teens right up until she hits 30. So kind of like the perfect age for me to be reading about, because it's kind of where I've just been and where I'm heading, if that makes sense. I'm 21 by the way, in case you didn't know. Dolly talks about her university times when she literally, like, she had a mad old university life, I'm not gonna lie. Like, she did some crazy, questionable things, but they're all really good and fun to read about. She also has a really good sense of humour. There is so many funny parts to this book. I actually took a lot from this book. I think it's because she is just a little bit older than me, so when she was talking about growing up and stuff, I could actually relate to most of the things that she talked about in the book, which is kind of rare. She talks about when she moves to London, she talks about her job, she goes on dates, some good, some bad. But although you think the book is going to be about love and relationships and romantic kind of love, that's what I thought anyway, it's actually not. Like, the main love she discusses and the main thing you take away from the book is actually friendship, like friendship love, and how you should treasure your friends and how much you can love people, but not in a romantic way, more in a friend way. People that you treasure in your life, people that help you throughout the bad times as well as the good, if that makes sense. I've literally written in my book funny, heartbreaking and wholesome all in one go, which it totally was. It kind of had those moments where you're like, oh my god, I could have literally cried in some parts of the book. And yeah, it was so wholesome. Great description from me there, I'm not gonna lie. I'd say if you are a millennial or maybe just under, I actually don't think I'm a millennial, I think I'm the generation like younger than that, Generation Z is it maybe, or Generation C, I'm not sure. But if you are between, I'd say like 18 to 30, maybe 32, and you're a female, you would definitely enjoy this book. I just think it's so good. She talks a lot about, one of the main things that I was like, oh my god, yes, I agree, is talking about like the fear of being a little bit older and the fear idea of living in your 20s and what you should be doing and what society tells you to do when you're in your 20s, but actually in reality most of 20-year-olds are actually nothing like the society's expectation of us. Yeah, I could have literally read this forever. Like, if she brought out another one from when she was like 30 to 40, I would buy it straight away. Like, it's so good, really readable, definitely a page turner. It's written really well as well. I don't want to forget to say that. Like, she is an incredible author. Like, she just writes with such fluidity, darling. She writes with such fluidity. So because I read Everything I Know About Love quite quick, I actually had plenty of time between the deadline of our book club and then starting the next one, so I actually managed to squeeze in a few extra books, one of which was Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This book, honestly, I would not expect to enjoy this, but I actually really did, and I think I rated it like 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Goodreads is a really cool app, by the way, if you're wanting to find good books, like recommendations. One of the amazing things about it, which I'm sure you can do on like book websites and stuff, but I just never thought to do it, to be honest, is you can type in a book that you've really enjoyed. So when I started using the app, I typed in like Normal People, and then at the bottom it tells you everybody who rated Normal People highly, so everybody who enjoyed it. It tells you like what else they enjoyed. It's just such a good way to find new books and to discover other kind of things that you think you'd enjoy. Queenie was actually on a blog post that I read about. I think it was called Other Books You Will Enjoy If You Enjoyed Normal People. Normal People by Sally Rooney, by the way. And honestly, I really enjoyed this. It follows one main character who is called Queenie. You guessed it right. She is a black 25-year-old, I think, and she lives in London, and it basically follows her life from, I think she's 25 at the start of the book and then she's 26 at the end of the book, so it's only like a year. One of the really strong and heavy themes in this book is racism and how she has to deal with it, as people are kind of racist in passing, if that makes sense. People mentioning it in conversation and thinking it's acceptable, even people that are like really close to her, and it gave me a really good insight into a kind of corner of the world that I don't really know about. And oh my god, I'm losing my voice. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book was the comedy. She has such a witty, dark sense of humour that just had me laughing. Some of the stuff in here just cracked me up. It's a really kind of moving book as well. Oh my god, I'm kind of losing my voice. Can you hear that I'm losing my voice? At the beginning of the book, she's kind of losing who she is as a person, but she doesn't quite realise it, and she's in this relationship with this guy who, oh my god, I mean, their relationship is so bumpy, but you kind of don't realise. At the beginning you think, oh my god, the boyfriend is such a like, he's awful to her and he's so unfair to her and he's racist and his family are racist and he's just fine with his family being racist. But then as the book moves on, you actually see more of Queenie and how she actually treated the boyfriend when they were together, and it's like, oh, actually maybe Queenie is in the wrong. And my friends read this, and when we were chatting about it, she said like at so many points in the book she actually didn't like the main character, and I think that's a really clever thing for the author to have done here. Like, sometimes you really like the main character and you're like rooting for her, and then at other points you're like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? And she just makes some really bad choices in the book, and as you're reading it you're like, why is she doing that? Like, that's such a bad choice. She is quite clearly, evidently making a bad decision here, but she still goes through with it and she has to suffer the consequences of it. And yeah, it's a really good book, and I honestly couldn't put it down. I read it in a really short space of time. Towards the end of the book, it kind of does get a little bit dark and a little bit more serious, if that makes sense. You kind of explore her. Oh my god, I can literally see my battery running out as we speak. My camera literally just cut out as I was talking, but we're back on. Yeah, you see her relationship with her family, her mother, and different people in her life and how that's impacted her and her emotions and her stability as well. At one point, like, she hits rock bottom and it's like, oh my god, like, what is she ever gonna do to get out of this? But yeah, really good book. Some very taboo topics in here, by the way. If you don't like reading about sex, this is not the one, because it's got a lot of sex in it. There is a lot of taboo topics in here, that's all I'm gonna say. There's a lot of topics that are like, whoa, okay. Like, even the opening chapter, it starts with a taboo topic and you're like, whoa, okay then, this is how we're starting the book, aren't we? Alright then. Okay, next up is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. Whew. Oh my god, I don't even know where to start with this book. Conversations with Friends is about Frances and, what's the other character called? What's she bloody called? Oh, Bobby. Frances and Bobby. Love how I literally couldn't remember the main characters. It's all written from Frances's Francis's. It's all written from Francis's point of view. Francis and Bobby are the bestest of friends. They actually used to be together, like they used to be in a relationship, a lesbian relationship, but then they broke up, but they still stayed friends, like best friends. They read spoken poetry aloud, so they go to, oh my god, are my boobs on show there? Better bloody not very. So yeah, they read poetry at kind of events, like little gigs, and they read it in pubs and clubs and stuff like that, and that's just kind of their thing that they do together. Francis writes all the poetry and her and Bobby read it out. They're doing this kind of gig one night and Melissa, who is a journalist, turns up and she wants to write a piece on them, so she's there with her camera, like taking pictures of them, and they get talking while they're out having a cigarette, and Melissa basically invites them to come back to her house for a drink and just to chat more basically. So they get to her house, Melissa welcomes them in, and then they meet Melissa's husband, who is called, can't remember, Nick, that's it, where they meet Nick, and then them four kind of become a four, and you follow them throughout the book. So you've basically got Francis and Bobby, who are best friends but used to be in a relationship, and then you've got Melissa and Nick. Now they are married, and I don't want to give any major spoilers, but you kind of pick this up within like the first 50 pages anyway. Nick and Melissa don't have a happy marriage. They are quite unhappy, and they're kind of like together, but because they've kind of always been together, you know, like those people who are together in a relationship and when you meet them they're not kind of like mad about each other, they're just together and they've always been together. Probably one of the reasons why they're in a relationship is because they've never done anything else, if that makes sense, just for the security and the kind of safety of it. I don't know if you know anyone like that, but anyway, yeah. So that's kind of the situation, and I'm not gonna give anything away, but Bobby and Melissa form quite a good friendship, and Francis and Nick do the same. So it follows their life, yeah. Oh, one thing to note as well is that Melissa and Nick, so the married couple, are quite wealthy. Like, he's an actor, he's got money, and she is a successful like journalist. So Bobby and Francis are, I think they're still at university, or they've just left university, so they're like young, they're like 21, 22, and Melissa and Nick are in their 30s. So it's kind of a weird dynamic between all of the characters in the book. It's a very, I don't want to be too negative because I'm honestly in love with Sally Rooney and I love Normal People with all my heart. It's my favourite book, and I went into conversations with friends hoping that it would be just as good, but it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it half as much as Normal People. I felt like the relationships between the characters were just really confusing and I couldn't really relate to it or make sense of it myself. I don't really know anybody who is like anybody in the book, to be honest. I just couldn't connect with the characters, and I also didn't really like the main character. I don't think I liked any of them, to be honest. Maybe like one or two characters I thought were alright in the book, but I wasn't rooting for them, and I think that's what I struggle with. Like, when I read a book and I'm not rooting for somebody, I struggle, because that's what I find the joy in. I find the joy in reading about a character who I love, and you know what, even if the plot of a book is not amazing but I love the characters, I'm fine with it. Like Normal People, for example, I've read so many reviews of it and so many said like, what was the actual plot, like what actually happened, and to be honest I don't even know if I could tell you that much that happened. It's just more about character and relationships, and I feel like Sally was trying to do the same in this book, but it just didn't really, I don't know, she didn't really pull it off in my opinion. One thing that people say about this book is that conversations with friends walked so that Normal People could run, and I agree. I feel like Normal People was amazing, like 5 out of 5, but I would honestly give this like a 2 or a 2.5 out of 5. Didn't really enjoy it, didn't really think much to the plot or the characters or the ending. Like, nothing kind of stood out for me in the book, and I found it a little bit confusing. If you've read this one, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were, because I would be so intrigued to have a discussion with people about it. I did think it was a really good take on modern relationships though, how a relationship kind of isn't two people meeting, falling in love and then being together forever. It's so much more complicated than that, and it definitely does kind of explore that in a modern way. But yeah, not a massive fan of this one, I'm afraid. Not a massive fan. The next book that I've literally just finished is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was book number 2 in Page Turner's book club, so I think some of you will still be reading it, to be honest, so I'm gonna try not to give any spoilers. But this is a real different book to what I would normally read. It's not about two characters falling in love, so can I get a Hell yeah, for exploring different fiction options, thank you very much. So Daisy Jones and the Six is about a really famous band. It is all fiction, by the way, it's not real, they're not a real band. It's basically about a band in the 70s. It's not real, it sounds like I'm saying it and it's real, but it's not. Daisy Jones and the Six were a band in the 70s. They were a rock and roll band, written as if they are real, so they kind of were together, an amazing group, they were super successful, and then they suddenly split up and nobody ever knew why. This is basically the book that reveals why they broke up. It reveals how they got together. It just basically tells you the whole story of Daisy Jones and the Six, which is the band. All written in an interview format. You get literally almost everybody's point of view in this book. It's so well done, honestly. When you're reading it, you feel like you're watching one of those documentaries about a band, you know? If you've ever watched the documentary for Oasis, or I think there's one about Adele, you know those TV programs where people sit and they tell you their opinion on stuff? Imagine that, but from members of a massive band. This book really did take me by surprise. Like, the reviews were really good, and I was like, how is this book so good? And to be honest, the reason why I chose it was because of the reviews. Like, majority of people on Goodreads rate this 5 out of 5, which is a massive deal. Like, that's so rare that most people rate it really highly. I should tell you what's weird about this, right? I normally love reading about stuff that I can relate to, so normal life stuff that's set in present day, about people who are a similar age to me, like stuff that I understand and want to know about, if you know what I mean. This book isn't that. Like, it's not even set in present day, it's set in like the 70s, people are not the exact same age as me, the people are not similar to me at all. I'm a massive fan of like so many bands, and I am interested in all that stuff, and I've watched so many like documentaries about like famous people and the life that they lead, and because I know all that stuff, and I feel like many of you guys will as well, it made this book really kind of relatable in a way, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm explaining that very well, but that's kind of the gist of it. And there's a lot of rivalry and jealousy going on in the book. There's a lot of different themes of love, like different kinds of love as well, and it really does explore each of them. So yeah, really good book. Loved the ending. Like, it really does mean a lot to me when I like the ending of a book. Like, the ending is such a crucial part. Like, you know when you watch a film and then the ending is just dire and it's like, oh, like, I feel like I've wasted 2 hours of my life there. It's the same with books, if not even worse, because you spend more time reading a book. Yeah, it was a really strong ending, and I think that just kind of rounded the book off really well. Really good read. I can understand why so many people rate it highly. I think I would give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think it would reach the 5 just because it's not like moved me in a way like normal people did. That's literally what I compare all my books to. Like, I'm like, is it as good as normal people? And if it is, I'll give it a 5 out of 5. And if it's not, it's a 4.5. So last up is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is one that I really recently picked up. I literally added it to my Amazon basket the other day because I needed to get my free delivery, and I needed to add some money on so that I got free delivery, which I know completely defeats the point, but here we are. Here we are with the book. Because I've finished page 2 of the book club, I have got a couple of weeks to fit another few books in, you know? So yeah, I chose The Hating Game. This is basically about 2 main characters. I'm literally, what, like 10-20 pages in, not far at all, but I'm going to tell you the premise of it, and I'll keep you updated with whether I enjoy it on Instagram and stuff. It's basically about 2 main characters, Lucy and Joshua. They both work for the same company. So this company is a publisher company. They're a publisher. They both worked for separate ones, and then they were both struggling. Both companies were struggling, so they joined together to become one publisher. They both had different CEOs, which both had different assistants, and Lucy and Josh are the assistants. So they've both come from separate rival publishers, and they've joined together. And even though it's kind of all one company now, the company still has that division and that separation between the 2 companies that used to be, and there's that rivalry there. But Lucy and Joshua's hatred for each other isn't just because of the companies. I think it's because they are both the CEO's assistants, so they're both meant to be equal. I think it's going to be about their hatred and rivalry for each other, and they're kind of fighting to get the top spot, I think. I think there's going to be some flirtation in there. I actually think they're going to end up liking each other, but I don't know what's going to happen. As I say, I've not really got into it properly yet. It's meant to be a really good book. Again, this has got 5 out of 5 ratings on Goodreads, so loads of people think really highly of it. It's going to be about these 2 playing games with each other, and yeah, I mean, literally, I'm like at the very beginning, the first chapter, and they've already played a few games against each other, just like that rivalry, and I think the tension is gonna build, you know what I mean? I think it's gonna get a little bit sexy, you know? I'm excited to get stuck into this one. I think it's going to be a really good, fun read, and if it is really good, I will obviously let you guys know and you can add it to your reading list. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about all the books that I've been reading. I've honestly been getting so stuck into reading. I've been enjoying it so much. Let me know in the comments what you guys are reading, if you're reading anything at all. And obviously if you are a member of the page turners, comment down below a little book emoji and then I'll know which of you guys watch my videos and are part of the book club, because I actually have got no idea. Like, a lot of you guys I do like recognise, and I know a lot of you and I speak to you and stuff, but I'm sure there'll be people out there that I just don't know are part of the book club that also watch my videos. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all well, keeping safe. Please go down below and like this video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe down below as well. Remember to keep safe this week, stay positive, stay alert. Am I really giving you this advice? But yeah, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you very soon. Bye.